We got a loaded show for you today as we head into the weekend. But before we get to that, I want to give a shout out to my main man, Mikey Pacapelli. He actually recently had to get his leg amputated, unfortunately. However, he said, "Doc, I bleed black and gold no matter what, so I'm going to need a prosthetic leg that is Saints themed." So guys, I need you to help me out before we get into today's Saints trade buzz. Show some love to Mikey Pacapelli in the comments section. Type who dat, type MP, type Mikey, whatever you want. Show him some love though, because hey, this guy is a true Saints fan through and through. All right, so in a recent report, Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer actually said that K'Lavon Chaisson could be traded very soon. So could we see the former LSU Tiger, the product out of Houston, Texas, make his return to Louisiana? Because I still believe the Saints have a need at linebacker. So as for what Albert Breer had to say, he said if you're looking for a reclamation project, Jacksonville's K'Lavon Chaisson would be one. And it'd hardly be a shocker to see him moved during training camp. So my take on this is Chaisson has untapped potential, and he could still be a game-changing pass rusher. He's very athletic, he's quick, he hits hard, and he's a guy that I think the Saints should go and explore trading for. Could the Saints go and get him for cheap? I mean, he was a very highly touted prospect coming out of LSU. He was a player that hasn't quite lived up to the expectations that the Jacksonville Jaguars have put on him. So maybe the Saints could go and get him for the cheap. I think that this is something the Saints should explore. But at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's about you, Who Dat Nation. So you tell me, should the Saints trade for K'Lavon Chaisson, Type T for trade, type P for pass. Let me know in the comments section. And let me just set the scene a little bit more for a trade. And he was a 2020 first-round pick out of LSU for Jacksonville. He has played in 40 games in 3 seasons with the Jags. He's had 11 starts with Jacksonville on the defense. And now the Jags did decline his 5th-year option because he hasn't quite lived up to those first-round expectations back in 2020. So I think that this is something that the Saints definitely need to explore. And as for why the Jags did not pick up his 5th-year option, here's the stats by year. So you look at 2020, the most recent year. 10 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 2 quarterback hits, and a sack. 2020, 31 tackles, 3 tackles for a loss, 4 quarterback hits, and a sack. And his rookie campaign showed a little bit of promise in getting to the quarterback with 9 hits and a sack. Also 3 tackles for a loss and just under 20 tackles. And as for his career, you can read the numbers. The guy definitely hasn't lived up to being a first-round pick. That being said, a change of scenery, a better defensive scheme, better coaching staff may help this kid out. And when you take a look at the depth chart, I think that this could actually be a really interesting fit. I would love to see K'Lavon Chaisson replace Zach Bond in this linebacker depth chart. I think that the Saints need to address this outside linebacker movement, or this position. You still brought in guys like Nick Anderson out of Tulane. You got Anthony Orji out of Vanderbilt. UDFAs in this past class. DeMarco Jackson, he should have a good year after he comes off of the IR being from last season. Hopefully he could have a good year. But my point is, I think that this is an intriguing idea, and I'm going to get to more thoughts on this. But before we get to that, I want you guys to do me a quick favor. Go and get yourself a Saints jersey, because I am going to go pick up one of mine. I think I decided I'm going with the white Olave jersey. I think I have to do it. I want a Taysom Hill jersey. I know in the comment section y'all said go Taysom Hill or go Olave, go Marshawn Lattimore, do whatever, but I think I got to go Chris Olave, man. He's just my dog. He's such a freak, and he is so good and so fun to watch. But I'm going to get mine at chatsports.com/Saints jerseys, and I hope that you do the same. The link will be available in the comment section and the description of this video. So to round things out for K'Lavon Chaisson, obviously, he was a big part of the 2019 LSU team that won the national championship. Arguably the greatest college football team of all time. He was a big part of that defense. And, coming out of Houston, he had a lot of potential. He showed a lot of growth, and he showed a lot of good things. And I truly do believe being the 20th overall pick back in 2020, that put some pressure on you. It was a weird season. Let's just call it what it was. 2020 was a weird year. You come into a weird season, and I'm not trying to make excuses for him, but because the Jags didn't pick up his 5th-year option, I don't think they'd have a problem moving him. And that's what Albert Breer also said. And so I want the Saints to go and at least explore. Put in a call to Dougie P and say, hey, what's it going to take to get this guy off your hands? Because we have a need a linebacker, and at the end of the day, we could still make some money. We could still move some money around. We can do what we need to do in order to address this need. But guys, I can promise you one thing. If a trade goes down, if the Saints sign anybody, if anything happens at all, we will be covering it for you. If it's a big move, I bet we could even go live. So I need you to join the Noti Gang, subscribe today, lock us in, and as you know, we are on the road to 15,000 subs. We're picking up good traction. We picked up about 20 plus subs yesterday. I want to pick up another 20 today. So I need 20 of you guys to hit the sub button if you have not already. We are 365 subs away from getting to that 15,000 milestone. Help us out, lock us in, turn on your notifications, and subscribe today. All right. Let's round things out with an Ed Oliver trade. Ed Oliver with the Buffalo Bills, similar to K'Lavon Chaisson, hasn't really lived up to the expectations that were set out for him. He is, however, set to make $10.75 million this year. The Saints can afford that before you guys start saying, where's the money? You can't pay him, blah, 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 blah. They can pay him. They have the money to do it. And in terms of the production for Ed Oliver, he's had some good years. He's had some weird years. I mean, 34 tackles to 41 tackles to 33 to 43, just up and down, left and right, upside down, and in between. 9 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, 14 quarterback hits in 2022. In 2021, he had 10 tackles for a loss, 4 sacks, and 14 quarterback hits. So this is a guy that I think would be a really intriguing addition to the Saints defensive line. I think that this is a guy who you could plug in and have veteran presence available for guys like Bryan Bresee, Isaiah Foskey. Even Payton Turner could benefit from having a guy like Ed Oliver on the roster. Nathan Shepherd, he's going to be great. Khalen Saunders, I have really high expectations for him as well. Cameron Jordan, we know him. Wham, bam, thank you, Cam. He's the GOAT. But let me just say this. If you were to trade for Ed Oliver, I honestly would expect it to be a long-term investment because not only would you trade him, you could also extend him on top of that, keep him here for a while. You see how things work out, see how things pan out. If he can get back to, or if he can get back to that first round hype, if he can be a top tier player and acknowledged for what it was, despite having a lack of production, to a certain extent, Ed Oliver was still a big part of rebuilding the Bills defense to become what it is today. So I think this is a long-term investment. And at the end of the day, this defensive line group is very, very young. And I want to see this defensive line group get rotated well. I want them to get a lot of reps. I want them to be experienced. But I also believe they need leadership. And when you have such a young core and you have a lot of them, or a lot of young players, and especially for the Saints case, the defensive line has always been one of the stronger parts of the defense. You're known for rotating your players. I just think bringing in a guy like Ed Oliver makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to ask you this. It's a good problem to have, in my opinion, but I want you to sound off. Does an Ed Oliver trade interest you? Type Y for yes. Type in for no. I'm going to be in the comment section interacting with you guys and seeing what you have to say. But Who Dat Nation, I hope you had a wonderful day. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Be sure to lock us in, subscribe, and y'all stay golden. We'll catch you next time.